What's going on, guys? This is a midstream segment. We're going to talk about contrarian bet splits today, and why I think contrarian bet splits are something that every sports bettor should be knowledgeable about and should be looking for on a day-to-day basis. So let's jump right in. So the first thing to understand is what a contrarian bet split is in the first place. A contrarian bet split is a situation where the line movement on a game is different, contrarian to the way that the percentage of bets are being placed on that game. Such to say that usually if a team is, say, -5 in a game, they're favored by 5 points, and they start getting 60, 70, 80% of the bets, you will usually see that line widen out in favor of that team. That's to say the -5 will move to a -5.5, a -6, a -6.5, all the way out until the money can get evened out. The whole point of the books is to keep their money even and make money on the juice. That's why every game, even when it's a PK, both teams are -110. Every spread, both teams are -110, sometimes -105, -115. It's because all the books are trying to do is keep an even amount of dollars, not percentage of bets, an even amount of dollars on both sides of a spread. That is the book's number one priority on any game, and spreads move according to the book, hoping to keep those things even. So a contrarian bet split is where you see a higher percentage of the bets going towards one team. That's to say that in general, the public, the casual bettor, regardless of bet size, is laying money on one team, but the line moves away from that team. So in the example that I just talked about, if a team is -5 and they're receiving 70% of the bets, you would expect to see that spread move out to 5.5, 6, 6.5. But if they're receiving 70% of the bets and that spread comes into 4 or comes into -3.5, that is where you should start to raise your eyebrows, and that is what a contrarian bet split is. My example of that on tonight's game today is February 26th, 2024. It is currently 6:30 p.m. Central Time. This game that I am going to talk about starts in 1 hour. My example for this tonight is UNC Wilmington playing at Campbell. As you can see here, Campbell is receiving 63% of the bets, which is a sizable majority. 2 out of every 3 bets is going towards Campbell at +9 now. But this line, this is the opening lines here. This line opened at Campbell +7.5. They're receiving 2/3 of the bets. And for some reason, this line has moved out to Campbell +9. What that means is that the books are really trying to keep the dollars on this game even on both sides. However, the percentage of bets rolling in on Campbell is higher than the percentage of bets rolling in on UNC Wilmington. That means that while the public is on Campbell, while the majority of the public is putting their smaller bets on Campbell, the sharps, the big money, the people who are rolling in here with 10 and 20 and 30 and $50,000 units, they are on UNC Wilmington. The reason this line has moved deeper out for UNC Wilmington is because they are receiving a higher percentage of the dollars, not necessarily a higher percentage of the bets, but a higher percentage of the dollars. And that is what a contrarian bet split is. It is exemplified perfectly right here. The team receiving 37% of the bets, you would expect to see this line move into UNC Wilmington -7, -6.5, -6, all the way until the number of bets on both sides of the equation is evened out. However, in this case, we see that it moves out in favor of UNC Wilmington more, despite them receiving a considerably lower percentage of the bets. That is a contrarian bet split. When something seems fishy like that, you have to realize that it's because the sharps and the big money are rolling in and laying their bankrolls on UNC Wilmington. When I see that, alarm bells go off in my head, and I lay UNC Wilmington as well. I don't even necessarily do too much analysis. If the bet split is, if there's a 30 or 40% disparity in the percentage of bets and a line has moved a full point or more in favor of the team receiving less of the bets, I don't ask many questions. I just take them. And to this point, I don't have my tracking sheet open in front of me, but I have something to the tone of a 65% win rate using this strategy. And the other beauty of this strategy is that if you're cheap like me, you don't even need to have an Action Network premium subscription or a VSiN Pro subscription to see the percentage of the money. You can just spot these things. And I do. Every single day, I sit down and I scroll through the Action Network and I look very diligently. I say, did the line move? If it did, I say, what's the bet split? And very often, you will see situations like, let me find one here, McNeese State at Lamar. Lamar opened +11. They're receiving 81% of the bets, and they move in slowly. They're all the way into +8.5 now. That is normal. That is what you would expect. That is a standard movement because Lamar is receiving more money. The books need to keep the money even on both sides of the game. And so they move the line in more and more and more to make McNeese more and more attractive to bet on in hopes of evening out the numbers on both sides of this game. However, in this game that we're talking about right now, UNC Wilmington, we see that UNC Wilmington has moved out a full point despite only receiving 37% of the bets. When we look at this game objectively, this one, actually, I think UNC Wilmington is in a pretty good spot. I do sort of see what the Sharps are seeing here. They're 20-7 compared to Campbell's 12-16. They're on a W1 compared to Campbell's L3, and Campbell hasn't been exceptional at home this year. They're 9-6. Even oftentimes, even with bad teams, you'll see this number be more like a 14-1, or well, that's maybe a little bit exaggerated, but maybe something more like a 12-3, even in the case of a bad team. But that's not what we're seeing here. So while I do see kind of eye to eye with the Sharps on this one, I do not always see eye to eye with the Sharps. This past Saturday, that would have been February 24th, 2024, Lehigh was playing a game. I do not remember who they were playing, but I jumped on a contrarian bet split despite Lehigh being on the road, despite it not making a particular amount of sense to bet on Lehigh in that spot. And Lehigh covered. I think they won by 8 or 9. And it's only because I trusted the Sharps. I don't even know what the analysis was. I don't know what they're thinking. But when I see shady line movement, if it's fishy enough, I'm going to hop on the fishy side, especially in the case of small games like this one, UNC Wilmington at Campbell, especially in the case of a Lehigh, of a Horizon League, of a Northeastern Athletic Conference, Middle Eastern Athletic Conference, those types of games. If you see contrarian bet splits in those types of games, that should really start to raise alarm bells because people, the public, is not betting on these tiny little games. They want to bet on the big games. They want to bet on the Baylor at TCU tonight, the game that I just talked about a moment ago on the live stream. They do not want to be betting on UNC Wilmington and Campbell. So when I see contrarian line movement in the case of small games, in the case of games where on FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, you would actually have to click more bets on your phone and go into the deeper college basketball section, when I see contrarian bet splits on those types of games, that really starts to raise alarm bells in my head. That's why I'm so comfortable hopping on UNC Wilmington tonight, even though the analytics do make sense for UNC Wilmington tonight, in my opinion. It's not because of the analytics. It's because I'm just doing what the Sharps do. I'm trusting whoever out there laid $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 on UNC Wilmington tonight because that is 5% of their betting bankroll. That's the person that I want to trust, not the average everyday public. So it's exemplified with UNC Wilmington, but this is something that I look at across all sports all the time. Contrarian bet splits. It's where a team receiving a higher percentage of the bets has the line move away from them. When that happens, alarm bells should start to go off in your brain. So that's what we have for today. If you're new, if you're watching this channel and you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to come check out our live streams. Check out the Bad Trader app. We have lots of exciting stuff going on all the time. There's live streams like this one that's going on right now, happening every single day, and all types of good, informative content like this. So thanks for watching.